Mr. Mayor, I think we can begin. We have a number of presentations tonight, and I know you'll be officiating at those. I'd like to make the announcement for the first presentation. April is National Parliamentary Law Month. The city acknowledges Martha Rollins, President, Helen Stovall, Vice President, and members of the Chesapeake Unit of Parliamentarians as they strive towards the goal of providing parliamentary leadership to the city of Chesapeake. Attending, and some may be coming in a little late, but my list of attendings are Martha Rollins, Barbara Caraway, Sandy Madison, and Mitzi Wright. Mr. Mayor, please call Martha Rollins for comments.
Hello, Ms. Rollins. How are you? First of all, I want to thank you on behalf of the city for what you do in bringing parliamentary procedure to many organizations like the City Council. You're certainly in good hands with people like Thomas Jefferson, who had this kind of thing thought out many, many years ago. So on behalf of the City Council and the citizens of Chesapeake, I'd like to present this proclamation to you proclaiming this National Parliamentary Law Month. And ask you to have a few words. So.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. We do thank the City of Chesapeake for its support of parliamentary procedure. We have always known Chesapeake to be concerned for the procedure of all its boards and commissions, aside from City Council itself. And we offer training, and we'd love to have folks come and join us. We're on the first Monday of the month. Thank you so much for recognizing Parliamentary Procedure Month.
Thank you, Ms. Rollins.
Mr. Vice Mayor, back to you.
All right. We'll wait for the next group to come in.
Okay.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. April 17th to 22nd is National Volunteer Week. Last year, the city had 12,500 volunteers who donated over 250,411 hours of service. Attending are the volunteers of the quarter. Pat Bailey volunteered in the Parks, Rec, and Tourism Department. Dave Noble volunteered in the Animal Shelter Police Department. And Steve Ratcliffe volunteered in the Animal Shelter Police Department. Allison Myers, the Director of Human Services, is here, and Patty Herlin, Human Resources Specialist.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Ms. Allison, I would like to invite you up to the podium, and Ms. Herlin, as I read this proclamation and give you a chance to say some things. Whereas the entire community can affect positive change with any volunteer action, no matter how big or small. And whereas volunteers can connect with local community service opportunities through hundreds of community service organizations like volunteer centers, and whereas millions of volunteers working in their communities utilize their time and their talent daily to make a real difference in the lives of children, adults, and the elderly. And whereas during this week, all over the nation, service projects will be performed and volunteers recognized for their commitment to service. And whereas to the giving of oneself in service is to another empowers the giver and the recipient. And whereas experience teaches us that government by itself cannot solve all the nation's problems. And whereas our country volunteer force of over 64 million people is a great treasure. And whereas the volunteers are vital to our future as a caring and productive nation. I therefore do hereby proclaim April 17th through the 22nd, 2022 is National Volunteer Week in Chesapeake, Virginia.
Thank you. So I just have a few remarks. William James is an American philosopher and psychiatrist and was the first educator to offer a psychology course in the United States. He's quoted as saying, "Act as if you make a difference, it does. Volunteers make a difference by helping others. Countless citizens and children have benefited from our volunteers and due to their selfless dedication to our city. Volunteers truly make the city an exceptional place to live, learn, work, farm, and play, and for that we are exceptionally grateful. Thank you."
Good. You want to say?
And on behalf of the On behalf of the volunteers, we're presenting the city with a check of over $7 million, which equates to the number of hours that they contributed to us in 2021. Thank you.
Once again, thank you and congratulations for your recognition. You know, we all hear so many bad news stories in the press today, so it's so wonderful to hear the kinds of things that are going on in Chesapeake, and God bless you for your efforts.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next presentation is April Fair Housing Month. The City of Chesapeake fully supports the intent and purpose of the Fair Housing Act and pursues policies and practices to achieve those ends. Attending tonight, Mr. John Konak, Executive Director, CRHA, Nancy Tarkenton, Assistant Executive Director, CRHA, and Nellie Sanchez, Housing and Community Development Specialist, CRHA. Mr. Konak, could you please join the mayor at the podium?
Whereas the month of April 2022 marks the 55th anniversary of the passage of the Federal Fair Housing Act of 1968, which provided for equal opportunity in the sale, rental, and financing of housing and prohibited housing discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Was amended in 1988 to expand protection to persons with disability and familial status. The city of Chesapeake embraces diversity in its communities and its workforce and strives to eliminate barriers which diminish the rights and limits the options of all citizens. And whereas it is the duty of government at all levels to protect and defend the rights of all citizens, and to oppose housing discrimination wherever and whenever it occurs. And whereas the City of Chesapeake fully supports the intent and the purpose of Fair Housing Act and pursues policies and practices to achieve those ends. Now, therefore, I, Dr. Richard W. West, Mayor of the City of Chesapeake, Virginia, do hereby declare the month of April 22nd as National Fair Housing Month. And I'd like to present this proclamation to you, Mr. Nodak, and have you have an opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, Mr. Curry. Just really appreciate this. Certainly, Fair Housing Month is an opportunity for us as a public agency to up our collaboration because, you know, in terms of enforcement of the Fair Housing Act and especially the inclusion now of the protections against sources of income, which CRHA provides in terms of housing choice vouchers. It really is a collaborative effort. We've had a new brochure printed up and we hope to have some educational forum activities with landlords working with the city's Department of Planning and Community Development. So we're really looking forward to getting the word out in terms of what the roles and responsibilities of the various partners are. But we appreciate this proclamation and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Earth Day is April 22nd. This is a day by which organizations and individuals are reminded of the constant need for environmental awareness to assure that Chesapeake is a greener, cleaner, and healthier city in which to live, learn, work, farm, and play. Attending tonight is Rebecca Greenwald, CEIC Chairperson, and Megan Hale, Department Liaison to CEIC, Parks, Recs, and Tourism. Mr. Mayor, please call Rebecca Greenwald to make comments.
Please come forward. And before I ask you to make some comments, Ms. Greenwald, I would like to read this proclamation. Whereas our world continues to face tremendous challenges that threaten the health of our land and our waterways, degrade our environment, and alter our climate. And whereas all of us from all walks of life should understand that our actions impact the environment around us. Excuse me, I lost my place. And whereas our goal is to establish a city today and in the future that provides a high quality of life that meets the social and economic needs of our citizens, employees, visitors, and business communities, and maintains and improves the quality of its natural environment. And whereas the people of our city must invest in preserving our parks, our open spaces, our agricultural heritage, wetlands, and urban forest. And whereas it is essential to promote and expand the success of those who advance wise environmental stewardship across our treasured rural areas, vibrant residential neighborhoods, and thriving commercial and industrial centers. And whereas Earth Day is an annual reminder of the constant need for environmental awareness, responsibility, stewardship, and sustainability. Efforts to make Chesapeake a greener, cleaner, and healthier city, and an exceptional place to live, work, live, farm, and play. Now I, therefore, Dr. Richard W. West, Mayor of the City of Chesapeake, Virginia, do proclaim April the 22nd, 2022 as Earth Day in the City of Chesapeake.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate those words. It's always good to recognize the planet on which we live and the importance of keeping it healthy. I would just like to put in a plug for the Chesapeake Environmental Improvement Council. For those who aren't familiar with it, it's been around since the 80s. It's an 18-member mayor-appointed commission of very dedicated individuals. We meet monthly. We do things like the Notable Yards Contest, the Chesapeake, Keep Chesapeake Beautiful Calendar Contest. We do litter cleanups once a quarter. We're partnering with the schools and various community organizations to help promote a clean and healthy environment here in Chesapeake. So if anybody doesn't know about us, we can be found on the cityofchesapeake.net/CEIC website, and we do have a quarterly newsletter that is going to come out real soon for the spring. So I'd encourage everyone to take a look at that so you keep up with what's going on environmentally in the city. Thank you very much.
Also, I'd like to ask Megan Hale from the Department Liaison of Environmental Council and Parks, Recreation, Tourism to speak on behalf of Mr. Barber.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to thank the council and the city for dedicating this day to Earth Day and for really showing some leadership in our community. And thanks to the community members that have volunteered so much time with the CEIC, as Becky mentioned, doing litter cleanups and recycling events, various beautification events across the city. So thank you so much.
Thank you. The Environmental Council is a very worthwhile organization for citizens who are interested in helping preserve our great city. Thank you. Thank you for being here today.
April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month. Our Human Services family is working to increase awareness about child abuse and neglect. In support of Child Abuse Prevention Month, the City Hall building is illuminated in blue for the month of April. Attending this evening is Mary Riley, Community Program Administrator, Human Services, Darnell Gaddis, CASA Coordinator, Human Services, Natasha Knight, CASA Volunteer Coordinator, Human Services, and Pamela Little-Hill, Director of Human Services. Mr. Mayor, please call Pamela Little-Hill to the podium.
Ms. Little-Hill, would you please come forward? Before I present this proclamation and read the proclamation, let me just say that, you know, on behalf of our city and in cities all over the country, particularly Hampton Roads, or mayors are getting together to look at the whole issue of violence. And I think one of the things that's most disturbing when that violence includes child abuse. And so I want to thank you personally and on behalf of our city council for all that you're doing to address this issue. I'd also like to call Ms. Darnell Gaddis to be prepared. So I present this to you. Proclamation. Whereas preventing child abuse and neglect is a community problem that depends on involvement among people throughout the community. And whereas child maltreatment occurs when people find themselves in stressful situations without community support, and don't know how to cope. And whereas a majority of child abuse cases stem from situations and conditions that are preventable and an engaged and supportive community. And whereas all citizens should become involved in supporting families in raising their children in a safe, nurturing environment, and whereas the effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships created among families, social service agencies, schools, the faith community, civic organizations, law enforcement agency, and the business community. Now, I, Dr. Richard W. West, Mayor of the City of Chesapeake, Virginia, do hereby proclaim the month of April 22nd as Child Abuse Prevention Month. And with that in mind, I'd like to present this and give you an opportunity to have a few words.
Mayor, we'd like to say thank you so much for the city's continued support of not only the Department of Human Services, but also the CASA program. We work hard throughout the year to ensure that these families and these children are getting put back together as quickly as possible and getting stabilized as quickly as possible. And the City of Chesapeake just does a phenomenal job with that, and we appreciate the support.
Thank you very much.